Well, y'all welcome, and we'll have answers for all your questions. We'll start with John Quirello, National Weather Service. John, if you please.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. Hurricane Florence is expected to be a long-duration, high-impact event for much of South Carolina, including areas well inland from the coast. A hurricane watch and storm surge watch remain in effect from Edisto Beach north to South Santee River, and the watches were upgraded to warnings farther north beyond the North Carolina-South Carolina state line earlier this morning. Florence has weakened only slightly to a Category 3 hurricane with speeds of 125 miles an hour. It's still located 470 miles east-southeast of Myrtle Beach, and it's moving west-northwest at 16 miles per hour. Florence is expected to slow down or stall as it approaches the southeastern North Carolina coast as a major hurricane on Friday and linger near the northern South Carolina coast into Saturday while weakening. This will result in a long period of damaging wind, storm surge inundation, and flooding rainfall across the northeast part of the state. The forecast track of Florence has shifted farther south into South Carolina since yesterday and is now expected to shift inland and track across South Carolina through the weekend and into the beginning of next week. Since Florence is a large hurricane, outer bands could begin to reach portions of the Grand Strand Thursday, with tropical storm force winds beginning Thursday evening and potential hurricane force winds Friday night. Tropical storm force winds could reach the southern part of the coast and even inland across the Midlands during the day on Friday. Damaging winds could spread inland across much of the state, resulting in downed trees and power outages. Storm surge values could reach 6 to 9 feet above ground level in some locations north of Myrtle Beach, 4 to 6 feet above ground level in some locations from North Myrtle Beach to South Santee River, and 2 to 4 feet above ground level in some locations from South Santee River to Edisto Beach. Periods of heavy rainfall are possible Friday through at least Monday. Rainfall amounts are currently forecast to range from 10 to 15 inches in far northeast portions of the state, 6 to 10 inches across the northern Midlands, and 2 to 6 inches across the rest of the state. Locally amounts could be much higher than that, resulting in dangerous flash flooding. These rainfall amounts will also result in significant river flooding, especially in the PD Basin through next week. While the latest track could result in an extended period of damaging wind, storm surge, and flooding, the good news is that the slower approach still provides an opportunity for residents in evacuation zones to leave and others across the state to complete their preparations. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. And as you said, it is slowing down. That is the speed at which the hurricane is approaching our coast, and North Carolina is slowing down, and the velocity of the hurricane has slowed a little bit. But it could pick back up, and as we have been predicting, this hurricane is unpredictable. It seems to change a little bit here and there. It's making predictions very difficult, but with all the information we're getting from around the world on this hurricane, I can assure you that what we are telling you here is the very best information available. Point number one, if you are in a evacuation zone, and those you can see them by going to the website, if you are in one of those evacuation zones in these counties, you need to leave now. Those zones are in Charleston County, Georgetown County, Dorchester County, Horry County, and Berkeley County. You can go and see on the maps there if you are in the zone, and if you're in one of those zones, then you must evacuate. 300,000 plus people already have done it. And as you can see, the highways are moving smoothly. The lane reversals are working very well, and we're getting people out of harm's way. Once that hurricane hits, once those high winds get here, whether it's Thursday night or sometime Friday morning, once they get here, it will be very difficult, if not impossible, for anybody to come rescue you if you are in harm's way in one of those zones. Be very difficult. In fact, we'll start pulling all of the assets out of there at some time, because even the rescuers cannot stay there and fight what is coming. At this time, I have not ordered an evacuation for Jasper, Beaufort, and Colleton counties in their zones there. I have not ordered that at this time. But as Sheriff Tanner and others, and Mayor Kaiserling and other officials there and other county officers have said, if you are in an area that usually floods. If you are in a low-lying area, even if you are not in an evacuation zone, or you are in one of those counties in an evacuation zone where the order has not been given to evacuate, leave. Go ahead and leave and go to find high ground, because you may be in danger. This is a big, big storm. Finally, there's going to be a lot of heavy rain with this hurricane. We know that. This is something that is unusual about this hurricane. This hurricane is bringing some rain and water that we have not seen before in hurricanes. We've seen high winds, notably with Hugo. These winds may be that high as well, but this will likely be more rain than we saw with Hugo or other hurricanes. And that is because, as has been explained, when this hurricane gets to land, it is liable to stop there, to continue its flow of rain on us, but to move very slowly and may even come down the South Carolina coast. So we will have water coming down the rivers from North Carolina for the heavy rain there, as well as in our South Carolina rivers and streams. So be aware, if you're in a low-lying area, be aware, and we'll be all on the lookout for major flooding. So with that, General Livingston.
Thank you, Governor. Team South Carolina continues to support the evacuation efforts of our citizens. We are poised and continuing to shift assets. The governor's orders allows us to shift assets throughout the state to be prepared after the storm for search and rescue, further evacuation, security, and clearing of routes. We have coordinated with our neighbors to the south to get further assets into South Carolina if needed, and we're coordinating with North Carolina and Virginia to have coordinated responses to the storm. We have federal military assets available. Fact is, we'll actually have a helicopter carrier and a littoral ship after the storm that's available to help us. So assets are there, and we'll be prepared to deploy them to support the citizens of South Carolina.
One question, General, is this the first time we've had those ships offshore?
Yes, Governor. This is the first time we've had those ships offshore, and it's a great asset. We appreciate the President providing that, and we have tight coordination so that when those assets are used, they will be properly used and effectively used.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Governor.
Secretary Hall.
Thank you, Governor. Just a quick update on our traffic flows. Currently, we're still seeing very high traffic volumes coming out of the Myrtle Beach and Georgetown area, roughly 2 to 4 times normal volumes on our highways coming out of that particular section of the state in the PD area. And then with regards to Charleston, we're seeing coming out of the Charleston region, we're seeing about 1.5 times our normal volumes coming up out of I-26 out of the Charleston region. Governor, that concludes my report.
Thank you, ma'am. Rick Smith.
Thank you, Governor. Leroy Smith, South Carolina Department of Public Safety. Our I-26 and US 501 lane reversal routes are operating very well. However, we did have 2 minor collisions on the reverted side of I-26. 1 minor collision in Orangeburg and 1 minor collision in Columbia. Our local evacuation routes are operating well. We have pre-positioned our units, officers in the Beaufort County area, waiting for any type of influx of traffic affecting US 21 and US 278 to keep that traffic flowing in that area. Our plan is to terminate lane reversal routes before the onset of tropical storm force winds. So for the I-26 corridor, the tentative plan is to close that reverse route on tomorrow at 6 p.m. That means that if you are in front of the trooper's vehicle at 6 p.m., you will have the opportunity to continue to the Columbia area. And as far as US 501, we will close that reverted side at 12 noon, meaning that if you are in front of the trooper vehicle once that reverse flushing process starts, you can continue throughout the 30-mile route. Thank you.
That's 12 noon what day?
Tomorrow. Thank you. 12 noon tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you. One question, Secretary Hall, the condition on I-20 near Bishopville. Could you address that briefly?
Yes, sir.
Please?
Thank you, Governor. As you know, we have a bridge project that's underway on I-20 at about at Bishopville area. And so we've been monitoring that delay going through that area as part of the evacuation plan. We've seen about a 30-minute delay on pretty steady at about a 5 to 6 mile congested area on that section. So we've been working with the local law enforcement and Department of Public Safety to look to implement some a new plan to try to affect that merge area in a more efficient manner to try to get traffic moving through that area.
Thank you very much. Director Keel, Chief Keel, SLED.
Thank you, Governor. Chief Keel, SLED, just want to let you know that there are 450 state law enforcement officers that have been deployed to our coastal regions. Those officers right now are participating in traffic lane reversals and the evacuation process. They will be transitioning to a security job as soon as the post-storm. Again, as I said the other day, it's not the time for individuals to take advantage of those who have evacuated their homes and their businesses. Our officers will be out in force along with our local law enforcement community to see that those individuals who have evacuated those areas are not taken advantage of. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Wilson, DHEC.
Thank you, Governor. DHEC continues to perform pre-storm assessments of dams across the state. As of this morning, we had done 181 of those. I would encourage dam owners, whether it's a state-regulated dam or not, that while the weather is still good, to take steps to lower the water level in their ponds or their reservoirs in anticipation of the heavy rains. Also inspect spillways and emergency spillways to make sure they're clear of debris. We are helping with the evacuation and assessing the evacuation of healthcare facilities in the evacuation zones, and we now have 3 special medical needs shelters needed and are ready to staff additional ones as needed. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you very much. Ms. Meacham? Yes, sir. DSS?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
An update on the shelter situation. As of 2:15, we had 34 shelters that are open with a capacity of 35,000. Currently, there are 1,800 people across South Carolina in shelters. There are 19 additional shelters on standby that would increase our capacity by an additional 33,000. We currently have 3 shelters that are accepting pets. Those are Cane Bay High School in Berkeley, Lake Marion High in Orangeburg, and DuBose Middle in Dorchester. The full live list of shelter openings is on the SCEMD.org or on the mobile app. If you are going to a shelter, you will need to take blankets, pillows, comfort items, medicines if you have any chronic conditions such as high blood pressure or diabetes, important identification documents, and any special food restrictions if you have small children or if you are on a restricted diet. Also on the website now, there's a green paw you can go to see if the shelter is pet friendly. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Director Parrish, Parks, Recreation, and Tourism.
Thank you, Governor. All state parks along the coast are now closed with the exception of Hunting Island in Beaufort County. For those in the evacuation zones seeking overnight accommodations, it is very fluid and could become very spotty. I would encourage you to check hotel brands' websites or online travel agent sites such as Expedia or Travelocity or Airbnb.com along those lines for short-term rentals as well for availability before and possibly even calling the hotel just to confirm your reservation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Emily Farr, Labor Licensing and Regulation.
Thank you, Governor.
Yes, ma'am.
The State Fire Division of the Department of Labor Licensing and Regulation has been coordinating the planning and preparation of search and rescue resources over the last few days. We now have about 750 rescue personnel rostered and ready to respond to this storm. That personnel consists of teams of in-state firefighter rescue personnel, as well as we have several teams from the states of Tennessee and Louisiana that have responded to South Carolina to help with this storm, and teams from FEMA stationed here in in Columbia to respond to the storm if needed. All of these are prepared for swift water and other search and rescue missions that may be necessary, and is in addition to all of your local firefighters that have stayed to help with their home bases, with their local jurisdictions through this storm. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, ma'am. Kim Stimson.
Thank you, sir. The SEOC is fully operational here with full state agency staffing. We've got really, the State Emergency Response Team has 3 priorities right now. One is the ongoing evacuation and sheltering mission, and then we'll go into the initial response and then eventually re-entry and initial damage assessment. But we're also planning for potential flood fighting operations here in the near term as well. In terms of counties, the emergency operations centers are open in 14 counties right now. Their primary focus is similar. It's the evacuation and sheltering piece that's going on. We have 10 of our personnel from EMD deployed and embedded in the emergency operations centers at 10 counties, all the coastal counties, and then 2 of the inland counties, to maintain situational awareness and also provide expertise and assistance to those local authorities. We continue to work requests from the local authorities, and they're ranging from ambulances to buses to generators. We continue to work with bringing in additional assets from out of state and potentially FEMA as well. On the public information side, we continue to emphasize personal preparedness and through the social media part of it. We want to remind everybody that we've got the public information phone system at 1-866-246-0133, 1-866-246-0133, and they'll answer any evacuation, sheltering issues that you might have, any questions there, or any other questions that you might have. Also remind everybody that they can go to our website at scemd.org, and you can go to Know Your Zone and find out if you're actually in a zone by actually just typing in your address, and it'll show you where you're at in terms of that. It's also available on our South Carolina Emergency Manager app that can be downloaded and installed on your cell phone. Sir?
Thank you very much. Colonel Taylor, DNR.
Thank you, Governor. I want to take a moment to shift. We've talked a lot about our highways and evacuations, and shift to our waterways for a second. With the shift in the storm, as the Governor said, it's been very unpredictable as we've moved forward and planned for this storm activity. But with the shift of that storm, we now know that we're going to have potential of excess rain across our state, 10 inches plus over most of the state. So we're now in the process of planning before the storm even gets here on how we're going to respond to communities if we have flood situations. We'll be working with our state partners and to put plans together. Those plans are in place now. We'll be planning flood mapping so we can see those areas that had the potential to be flooded, so that we can pre-position and be prepared to move into those areas for search and rescue for those that might be in a flood-prone area and trapped by floodwaters, as well as security, as Chief Keel stated, for those folks that are in those flooded areas where they may leave their homes, and we'll be there to provide security for their homes. For our boaters, I would advise you now that the storm has made a shift to South Carolina to secure your watercraft along our waterways. Now's the time to do that before the storm gets here. Also, if you're a boater and you're in a flood-prone area, please refrain from joyriding. To look at the flooded areas, to look at the homes that may be flooded, because the damage your wake may cause to that property could be significant. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Colonel. Jerry Edger, Probation Pardon and Parole.
Thank you, Governor.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Probation Parole and Pardon Services has about 100 agents out right now working the lane reversals with the Department of Public Safety. Once that is completed, we will shift to our ESF 13 function, which then we will be working with SLED with providing security for the communities that need it, as well as working with Department of Natural Resources with any types of flood situations that may occur. And we're just one of those law enforcement partners that will be doing various functions as needed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Department of Motor Vehicles, Colonel Sweeto.
The Department of Motor Vehicles is focused initially right now on answering the phones for the state with the phone information system. post-landfall, our priority will be to go ahead and ensure that we can cover down on insurance claims. We have 2 remote capabilities that we will use to go ahead and either augment organizations or branch officers that do not have electricity or will co-locate with the insurance. One's called a CARES vehicle. It is a community action response and emergency services vehicle. We move it in. It's a self-contained branch office to where we'll be able to get people their licenses and title information so they can go ahead and provide claims. The second, we have 2 shark kits, which are self-contained hazard area response kits, which have generated power and able to go ahead and help us light up DMVs that may be without power so we can continue to meet the needs of the community. I will start by there are only 3 of them. They don't provide as much response as we've got, but we will get all of them on out there to take as advantage of the situation as we can. Second area is the state is not focused solely on response. We have a long-term commitment with regards to recovery. So the South Carolina Disaster Recovery Office is already looking at what it's going to do to help recover the state, having gone through 2 of these prior. The biggest piece is to identify the vulnerable portions of the community, primarily those in the lowest income individuals, elderly, and those with disabilities. Identify where the problems are in terms of whether or not their homes are having issues, and work with the volunteers active in disaster, primarily the faith-based community, to get help to those individuals and start mucking and gutting on day one so that we can do the longer-term recovery over time. Subject to your question, sir.
Thank you. Ray Farmer, Department of Insurance.
Thank you, Governor. Once the storm has passed and citizens can return to their homes, you need to know that the insurance industry will be out in force. They're staging already in safe places. They'll be ready to meet with their customers to adjust claims. As Colonel Suedo said, we will have the appropriate insurance villages in the hard-hit areas where the insurance companies can gather and citizens can speed up the claims process. Any citizen that has an issue with an insurance company or a question, feel free to go on our website at doi.sc.gov. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you very much. Nanette Edwards, Director, Office of Regulatory Staff.
Thank you, Governor. We've been working with our field partners, the Office of Regulatory Staff. We are aware and been monitoring closely the use of fuel for purposes of evacuation. I have to say that the application known as Gas Buddy has been working very closely with us and giving us hourly updates as we see the process of people, going to the gas pump, getting their gasoline as they evacuate. I would like to take a moment to ask that you take what you need for purposes of evacuation, but that you not hoard. Go to the gas station, fill up containers, because as you get down the highway towards Columbia, you will find gas supplies are readily available. With regard to our utility partners, we're in good shape. They are staging, they are getting prepared. We have no issues there, and I would say that we're in good shape. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. In fact, President Duke Powell was here earlier today. So there's been a lot of communication. If anyone has any questions, we'll be glad to try to answer them. Yes,
so
ma'am.
You said 300,000 evacuees. Are those cars or people?
Those are
people.
And we're expecting a lot more, particularly now.
Any official word on the Clemson and USC football games on Saturday?
No.
As far as rain for the Midlands, inlands, can we compare that to 2015? What's the magnitude of the rain?
We really don't know. We think it may even be worse. And the reason is that in those rain events in past years where we've had storms, there have been storms coming through and turning on and going up the coast or going through quickly. Because of the high pressure ridge, they call it in weatherland, there's a ridge there through which this storm cannot penetrate. So it's going to stay right there, like it's up against the wall, and likely to turn and come down to the south. So that means whatever rain is in that hurricane is going to have a whole lot of time to rain on North Carolina and South Carolina. And as we know, a lot of the rain that goes into North Carolina ends up in rivers that flow down into South Carolina, which will increase the flow in our state. So we're expecting a lot of rain, and that typically means a lot of flooding, even though it has been explained that some of our rivers are low right now because of not that much rain recently. That helps a little bit to accommodate what's coming. But there's so much coming that we know we're going to have a lot of flooding. That's why we're urging everyone to, if they've experienced flooding before, they're likely to experience it again. And no matter where you live, find someplace safe to stay. Yes, ma'am.
Are there any plans in place for our inmates if things happen to take a turn for the worse?
There are. Particularly we have one facility, McDougal. It's in just outside of Ridgeville. It's almost on the Dorchester and Berkeley line. And we're in constant communication with Director Sterling. We're getting information, and the analysis so far is that it's towards the end of the edge of the one of the evacuation zones, and because of its placement and because of the types of buildings and a lot of other considerations, it's safer to stay on campus than it is to try to get off. So that is the conclusion at this time.
Now, isn't Lever right by McDougal?
Who wants to? Come on, Jerry.
Yes, it is.
And so are there preparations for Lever as well? Obviously, that's a high security.
I have not talked with Director Sterling, but I think that facility is pretty solid, and I don't think they'll be moving Lever at this time.
Are any inmates being transferred, or are there select inmates being transferred?
My understanding, they may have moved some inmates from one location to Tuberville, but that's something I read.
Was that from the facility the governor just mentioned?
That might be, yeah, to Tuberville, which is a more secure facility.
Is that from Lever to Tuberville or McDougal to
I think
Tuberville?
McDougal.
Okay.
Yeah.
McDougal is a level 2 facility, about 672 inmates. But again, we're in constant communication with Director Sterling and his office on what the best thing to do is.
Governor, with the
Yes.
possibility of this devastating and historic flooding, you just mentioned it might be worse than those 2015 floods. Why are you confident that you'll have what you need to get that done? It's going to be a huge response if that happens.
Well, it is because we have been in touch with not only Team South Carolina, which you've seen represented here in these briefings, but also our neighbors in North Carolina. We've had contact with states with Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and others as well as the federal government, which has done everything that we've asked them so far. Talked to Ben Carson today. We've talked to everyone in the administration, all of the Director of Homeland Security. They've all are available for further requests, and they're all including President Trump, and they're all very eager to see that we do not suffer any more damage in South Carolina than we have to. They want to be sure that we lose not one single life, just as we do. We don't want to take any chances with a single South Carolina life, and we have the full complement of the state, federal, and local authorities working together. And I need to say, probably in South Carolina, we may be doing more in a more coordinated fashion than a lot of other states have. We've been through this a number of times. And to give you an example, our road reversal of those lanes, most states don't do that. But we have accomplished it, and it's smooth as silk, and that's a great credit to Team South Carolina.
With that being said, lifting those evacuations yesterday, is there any concern you might have to put them back in? Or will you put them back in?
Everything depends on the facts. Everything that we do, every word you hear spoken from here is based on data and factual information that is coming not only from the local officials, from the public, but from professionals literally around the world who have satellites and information that makes this a very precise measurement, but always, as in the case of this hurricane, subject to change without notice.
Was it premature to do that?
No, everything we do is based on solid facts, and we are careful to be precise and to do exactly what we need to do when we need to do it.
With the cone of uncertainty and all the flooding covering the entire state, are there any recommendations for where people should evacuate? Should they go outside the state at this point?
They go wherever they're comfortable. There are people that have relatives in other states, people that have relatives in the upstate. There may be people in the Midlands. Just go where you would like to go. As Dwayne Parrish said, we've got a lot of hotel rooms still available. But the thing to do is get away from the storm. Where you go to is secondary. You got to get away from what's coming because we know it's coming. We know it's going to be bad, and we know we're going to have flooding afterwards. We believe unlike that we've seen before. So we just the answer is be prepared. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and that's what we're doing.
Governor, we know the roads are running smoothly as could be. What about the air? Should people trying to fly out of this thing, get away from here, be concerned and just prepare for
I would
days?
say you can get that information when you go to get your reservation. They'll have plenty of information for you on that. There are times the Federal Aviation Administration as well as others take care of those things. Yes, sir.
Governor, you said for the last couple of days that you expected 1 million people to evacuate. You're at 300,000. You have 1,800 people in shelters. Are you concerned that people aren't listening?
No, sir. We know they're listening because they're moving, and we know from other events that they're moving very well. There may be as many as 1 million, maybe more than that, and if you count those in North Carolina, there's no telling how many there'll be, and a lot of them are coming this way as well. So it'll be a big number. The important thing is we want every single person that is in one of these zones where the evacuation has been declared to get out of that zone, go to safety, and do it quickly because time is running out to leave. At some point, the lane reversals will be reversed themselves. At some point, the rescuers will not be able to rescue because they too will have to take shelter.
For those that find themselves in trouble, is 911 going to be the primary number to call, or are there hotlines? And
There are hotlines, and you've seen them. We can put it on the screen again. I would say write down a list. This is called preparedness. Write down a list of the phone numbers that you need and the people that you need to contact. Take it with you, and when you are leaving, let your friends and family know where you're going.
Governor, so do you anticipate or plan on ordering an evacuation of the Midlands if the storm's path continues to stay on course and pass through Columbia?
As I've said, everything we do will be based on the facts and on the data that we receive from not only locally, from local officials. We're in constant contact. Everybody you see here is in constant contact with local officials and local sources of information. And what we do, what we pronounce, and what we decide is based on the facts, only on the facts.
I wanted to go back.
You said you've spoken to the president. What sense are you getting from him in those conversations?
He wants to be sure that we're safe and that the federal establishment is at our disposal to see that not a single South Carolinian loses a life. And I know he talked to Roy Cooper and Governor Northam also in Virginia, among others.
You have said several times you don't want a single South Carolinian to lose a life. As you probably saw the protesters out there, they're using that phrase sort of against you on the prisoner issue. What would be your response to them as to why more prisoners aren't being moved?
We are operating, we're making our decisions, very considered, thoughtful decisions based on the facts. And the facts are, particularly as concerns McDougal, that is the safest place for those people to be at this time.
Governor, what should people, should they call 911 if they don't evacuate and the storm does hit
Yes.
in that spot? What should they do specifically? What numbers can they turn to?
Kim Stinson.
Well, one of the things I point you to is our emergency manager app. It allows you to write down those important numbers that you might have to call. 911, should be operational. It's all operational right now. You can call your county emergency manager if you feel like you've got a problem. Take a look at the hurricane guide. Take a look at our website. There's a number of things you can do to prepare yourself if you're staying at home. Have plenty of food and water for at least 3 days, because you're going to be the help until help arrives if you do not evacuate. And it's a life safety issue, and that's why the governor is urging everybody to leave.
Again, basically saying people could be on their own.
Yeah, that's the fact of it, is that you're going to have to be your own emergency manager until help arrives. So you're going to have to plan ahead, have food, water, and be able to exist.
Do you know anything about sandbags? That was something asked. Sandbag locations here, the coast?
There's, if you contact your local county emergency managers, many of them have sandbags that you can come pick up or, work through that. I know Dorchester County does, and I know others do as well.
Speaking of inland flooding, you mentioned the rivers in the current briefing. Is there any river basins in particular that you guys are looking at closely, or more closely than others as the storm approaches?
The PD, and before Colonel Taylor comes forward, there's some point that no one can go out in a hurricane. So even you could call 911 and call every other number, but just like you can't get out of your house to safety, they can't get in to save you. That's why we're urging people to leave from these evacuation zones.
Yes,
About the rivers, please.
Yes, sir. The river basin of highest priority for us now is the PD basin. PD basin includes the Little PD and the Lumber River, which we saw problems with Nichols in the last flood event, along with the Walkamaw River, which impacts Conway, and the Black River, which impacts King Street, and all of those rivers flow into the PD basin, which impacts Georgetown. So the river basin of our highest priority currently will be the PD basin, because it also receives a lot of flood water from the state of North Carolina. So not only will it have South Carolina affecting that river basin, it will also have the rainfall coming out of North Carolina. So it gets impacted two ways, and it makes it our #1 priority.
Governor, the nuclear power facilities, what steps are being put in place to make sure that no issues happen?
Those nuclear power facilities are covered with federal regulations and inspectors all the time, particularly now.
I know we were talking about sending school buses down to help people with evacuation. Do we have any numbers on how many were sent down and other transportation means for people who may not be able to afford to leave?
Kim Stinson.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One is most of the school buses are used internally in the counties to transport those people that do not have transportation. And in some cases, some of the counties swapped assets back and forth to cross-level the load. And the other piece is that we've got 125 commercial buses that we have available. We've used at least 30 of them that I know to transport people. So they're available as we continue this operation.
And do they just use that normal number to find or to coordinate that?
Yeah, they should coordinate with or call their county emergency managers, and then they've got plans to have pickup points in different locations, and a lot of this probably is in the local news media as well.
Governor, I had a question about dam safety. We had heard about inspections that have been done, but is there any concern about dam safety or any plans, precautions?
It's being carefully watched. Mr. Wilson of DHEC.
Thank you, Governor. Again, we would encourage all dam owners to take action with their dams to lower water levels, make sure spillways work, to try to keep their dams and get their dams in as safe a condition as possible for the oncoming floods. We're helping dam owners look at their dams. That's why we're going out in the field, looking at all those dams that I mentioned earlier, the 181, so we can help those owners take the actions they need.
Yes, sir.
Governor, obviously the stronger part of the storm is going to be in the low country and by the coast, but it's now forecast to also reach the upstate by Monday. Can you talk about folks up there and assure them that the state's going to have the resources and they won't be forgotten in this?
The state will have the resources. As you've heard me say, we have the best team for this kind of thing, as well as others of any place that we know of. Team South Carolina is strong, as you can tell from these representatives that are here. But the facts will determine what we do. We know that the upstate's going to have a lot of rain. We know that. The question is just how much and what sort of precautions need to be taken. But what we ask everybody is stay tuned, go to the official sources, talk to the county offices, as well as call these numbers that we've been distributing and publishing, and stay alert, because this is a dangerous storm. It is unpredictable. If you tune out for 12 hours, you might miss something very important. So stay tuned. And John Quagliarolo, would you like to answer the question, please, about the rainfall up in the upstate?
Yes, sir. So we are expecting heavy rainfall. It's still kind of early to determine the exact locations and where we'll get the highest amounts. Right now, the greatest amounts look to be in the northeast part of the state, as they'll be closest to the hurricane as it stalls just offshore. But as the hurricane, as it weakens and moves across the state, we will see other areas with heavy rainfall. And they'll also determine what areas see that significant flash flooding. In some ways, it's hard to relate it to the flooding we had back in during the Joaquin event back in 2015, because all that heavy rain fell in our very populated areas, Charleston, all the way up to Columbia. If this heavy rain sets up in other areas, it just all depends. So I think the key really is just know where you live. If you're in a flood-prone location, be aware of that and move to a higher location. If you live along a river that could flood, have a course of action to take to get to safety. So right now, most people don't have to evacuate due to rainfall, just need to get to a higher location away from floodwaters would be the best recommendation at this time. And in terms of the wind, again, it all depends how quickly the hurricane weakens off the coast, how long it sits there, and how soon it moves inland. But we certainly could see tropical storm force winds well into the Midlands, if not farther west than that. So it's something we'll continue to monitor, but expect at least some strong winds throughout the state, which could bring down trees.
Let me ask this, when would we expect flooding normally in the different parts of the state?
Well, flooding could begin earlier in the northeast part of the state as the hurricane approaches. The rain's going to begin probably late Thursday night, more so on Friday. We'll see those outer rain bands start coming in. And then the threat's going to spread west across the state. Even in the Midlands, the threat for heavy rain seems greatest late Saturday through Sunday night. And then the upstate maybe a little bit after that. So like I was mentioning, it's going to be a long duration event. This isn't going to move through quickly. Just be aware of that and be prepared to take action if there's, flash flood warnings issued or you see water starting to rise.
The I-26 lane reversal update for tomorrow, can you explain that again?
Yes, sir. At 6 p.m. tomorrow, we will close the reverted sides. Again, that means that if you're on the route from the I-526 area, you can travel from Charleston to Columbia. However, if you're not on the route at that time, you would have to take the regular westbound lanes of I-26. So there will always be lanes traveling from Charleston to the Columbia area. It just won't be the reverted lane at 6 p.m.
Still, you can't make it to Charleston on that route. You will not be able to make it to Charleston to Columbia on that route, correct?
From
Columbia to Charleston.
That is correct. Okay. Yes. And just one other thing, as we close the ramps, for example, we start at the I-526 interchange, say at the Ashley Phosphate interchange. Once we've cleared that, vehicles can enter at that interchange and travel east to Charleston. As we approach the US 78 interchange, once the troopers and the DOT officials clear that interchange, vehicles can get on the eastbound ramp and travel to the Charleston from that ramp. And we'll walk it up until we get to the I-77 interchange.
And then they can travel
That is
from I-77 in Columbia to Charleston on the regular lane.
That is correct.
In areas prone to flooding, should we expect road closures ahead of the storm?
As part of the analysis that we're doing currently with the floodway studies, we will try to identify potential trouble spots for the future, try to predict that in order to get ahead of the situation, make sure that we're ready to respond. If we predict that an area of roadway will overtop or a bridge will overtop, then we'll pre-position as best as we can to be able to quickly react to that.
And where can people get the information in case they were wondering if they needed to evacuate last minute?
Evacuation.
Let's go to General Livingston.
They can get them on the road closures on your side.
So the floodway study, we're still finishing that, so it's not quite ready to really vet publicly, and we're still doing the planning process of it. Certainly when we have road closures, the DOT will keep that up to date on our webpage, and you can get to that same information the South Carolina EMD site.
Keep that number. Can we put that number up again, please? Okay, Jim.
Thank you, Governor. I want to emphasize to everyone, our success in the past has been Team South Carolina. And Team South Carolina, the most important member are the citizens of the state. It's not the group back here are a bunch of professionals, and we will create an environment where people can be successful and safeguard their families. But it really takes people paying attention and listening to what the governor says, listen to the information that's being put out, because this storm, again, is unpredictable. And it is not 2015, it's not Matthew, it's Florence. And it will change as time goes on. So just because you weren't flooded last time, you may be flooded this time. If you're in a low-lying area, you need to move out. When we start blocking off roads, you don't need to go around those blockades. And where we had problems last time is people not paying attention to what the local authorities are saying
or the state officials. So we ask everyone to listen what's being said and apply it, please, because we are there to help, and we will help you up until the last minute.
And finally, be sure to get your information from official sources. A lot of times there's misinformation going around, and also I'd urge everybody not to take your own private secret shortcut that only you know about to go from one road to another, because you might be the only one on there and might be stuck for the duration of the storm. Yes, sir.
I think this is for Mr. Parrish. We're hearing folks on Airbnb are offering their places for free. Any thoughts or recommendations on that? Any idea how many people are offering free places?
No, I'm not sure how many are offering free places, but I would encourage everyone, whether your preference is short-term rental, such as Airbnb or Home Away, whether your preference is a hotel, a state park, cabin, campground, or friends and relatives, just make that preparation in advance and make sure you do that either through the internet or through telephone and do those things.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.